my name is Kristin and this is Kristin Kraves book. So hopefully this video is on the shorter side because I'm trying to keep my July TBR reasonable after 3 months of pretty intense readathons. I am feeling burnt out. I just need to mood read for the rest of the summer, though readathons are coming up that I know I want to participate in, and I am participating in one in July. But it's Battle of the Bands and it just looks really fun and chill. I think by the time I post this it's too late to sign up, but I will let you know when there's another round of this ahead of time so you can be prepared. I'm on Team Journey and my plan is just to try and fit in the books that I read into the prompts as I go along. I can't do another month of readathon reading as much as I love it and I get FOMO. I just need to read what I own, read what's on my mind, what I feel like. That's what I have to do this summer. I'm feeling the burnout, so we're just going to embrace it. And then to completely contradict myself, I'm going to start talking about the buddy reads and book club reading that I plan to do in July. So you can see I'm just a mess. We're going to start with A Witch's Lament, and this is by Kathy Walker. And I've never heard of this book before, but Becky from Bex Reads is starting a book club, and the book club is called, I have it written down here, the Black Hat Book Coven. So you know that this is perfect for me. All they're doing is reading witchy books, and if you've been around the channel, you know there's nothing I love more than a witchy book, and that is something that Becky and I bond over and share. So as soon as she announced this readathon, I knew I was going to participate. They are reading this series, I think, over the course of July, August, and September. So I want to follow along. It is available on KU, and this is the first book in the Salem Witches series, and it is set in Salem, Massachusetts. And what I can tell, it's modern day, which is interesting, and it's really just become a tourist town, but darkness still lingers there. Our main character buys a historic building there, finds something, and realizes that her bloodlines are all connected and maybe she's a witch. This is what I'm gathering from the synopsis. And then there's a police officer whose mother disappeared during a ritual, and then skeletons are found and she thinks maybe this is her mother's body. I don't know, I just saw that this book club was happening and I was going to join in, so I'm excited to give that one a chance. Okay, speaking of book clubs, this next series you'll be shocked by probably because this is so out of my comfort zone when it comes to romance. I'm a rom-com girl or a fantasy romance girl, but this paranormal, why choose, reverse harem thing is so outside what I normally read, but I got swept up into the hype, and some friends that I have made through the Once Upon a Readathon, some of the co-hosts, Maggie in particular, Maggie from Maggie's Books and Stuff, her and Hannah from Hannah Blackwell started a Discord and have a lot of interesting things happening over there, but one of the things is the read along of the Make Game series. So we started with book 1, which was Obsession, and I will talk about my thoughts on that in my next video in my June wrap up, but I will leave a link to the live that we did where we did some reading sprints and we read the books together on the live, the first 30% or so, and it was so much fun, and not a series I ever would have picked up on my own, but I'm having a blast. And I asked Maggie what to expect from this, and she said that you get cringy one-liners, which you definitely did, dirty but in a funny way, definitely that way. So yeah, that was kind of a good time for me. So I am going to continue along in this series with everybody. So every 2 weeks we are reading the next book in the series. So in theory, in July I will read 2 of them. So the next one is Rejection and then Possession, and I will take no questions at this time. You might remember at the beginning of the year I had this goal to read all of the Fairy Loot books that I was sent. I even have a group chat with 3 other people where we were all so determined to do this. First 2 months, great. Have failed since. Now that chat is just where we share pretty editions of books and we enable one another. So it's doing the opposite of what it was intended to do, but I think we're trying to get back on track because we talked about reading June's Fairy Loot adult pick, and that is Shanghai Immortal. So this is one that I really want to try. This edition is stunning, and on the back it says, I may be irresponsible, impertinent, and improper, but I'm not stupid. Half a vampire, half fox spirit, all trouble. So who knows what this is even about, but Fairy Loot sent it. We are trying to be better about this. It is on the shorter side, so like, let's hope that we actually stick to this, because really we're just enabling one another's bad habits at this point. And then I want to continue on with my sequel reading. I have been killing that goal this year, so there are 2 that I want to catch up on. The first is the Burning Kingdom series. The first book was The Jasmine Throne, which was my favorite book, or one of my favorite books the year that it came out, and I can't believe I haven't read the sequel, The Oleander Sword, yet, but it's on the bigger side. I think summer is a good time for me to read this because I can just sit on the beach and really dive into it with no distractions. I might have to watch a video as a reminder of what happens in the first book, but I'm so excited to be back in this world, to be back with these characters and this romance again, and just to see where everything is going. And I already know I adore Tasha Suri so much, and I want to read this, get caught up on this series before I read The Empire of Sands, which I have a copy of now thanks to Maria. So yeah, I figure before I start a new Tasha Suri series, I better catch up on the one I'm in the middle of. I'm really in the mood for some cozy fantasy, so I figured I'd continue on with this series by Quimby Olsen. The first book is, I get this wrong every time, it's so long, Miss Percy's Pocket Guide to the Care and Feeding of British Dragons. And this one is Miss Percy's Travel Guide to the Welsh Moors and Feral Dragons, okay? These are very slice of life. We're following an older main character who inherits a dragon egg and doesn't know what to do with it, and she's having a very, very, very slow burn romance. The dragon is sweet. This, obviously, they end up in Wales, and maybe she gets out of her comfort zone even more in this one. I don't know, I just like the writing. I thought that this was fun. The first book was one of the Spiffo finalists last year, and it was my personal favorite, so I'm excited to continue on. And then last month, I finally finished the Clock Tower War duology by T. Kingfisher, and in June, I didn't read a single T. Kingfisher, which is criminal and needs to change. So I'm finally at the point where I can read Sword Heart, and that is super exciting because so many people tell me their favorite T. Kingfisher book is Sword Heart, and I haven't read it yet. For all the T. Kingfisher books I've read, over 10 at this point, I haven't gotten to the one that is most people's favorite, and I am trying not to build it up in my head, but I feel pretty confident that I can trust everybody else's opinion. And T. Kingfisher, I just love everything about her. You know this. So yeah, all I know is that's a fantasy romance set in the same world as that first duology. What is it? What are they called? I can't even. Wonder Engine's the second book that I just read. Is it The Clockwork Boys? I think so, that duology. So I know it's set in the same world with Paladins and all that stuff. And then once I read Sword Heart, I can continue on with the Paladins Grace series, and I'm just so excited. So yes, that is happening, and I predict that'll be my best book in June. And then I'll wrap this video talking about the 4 arcs that I want to read. The first one being The Invisible Hour by Alice Hoffman. You know I love Alice Hoffman. Speaking of witchy books, the Practical Magic series is one of my favorites, and not just for nostalgia reasons. The first book is not my favorite, but all the sequels and prequels are fantastic. They hold up. I love those characters. And I've read a few of her deeper backlists and her different books, but not as many as I would like. So I'm excited to have an arc of her newest release, and I think that this has to do with cults. So that'll be interesting to see her take on cults. It says, it's a novel about a fierce heroine whose life is saved by a book and its author, even though they lived 100 years apart. So it's actually somehow relates to The Scarlet Letter and how she reads that story, and it feels similar to her life. So I don't know, we'll see. And she's part of a cult. So I trust Alice Hoffman. I have an e-arc of one of my most anticipated reads of the year, and I'm so thrilled, and that is Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo. Elizabeth Acevedo is an auto-buy author for me. I have loved everything she's ever written, and this is her adult debut. She typically writes YA, so I am so intrigued to see what she does with adult, and it sounds like the kind of book that I appreciate and enjoy. It's more of a family saga, and it's kind of different from what you might expect from her YA, so I want to read it and get my thoughts out to you before it comes out on August 1st. And in some ways the synopsis kind of reminds me of The Inheritance of Accordia Divina, because it is talking about a main character who can predict when people die, and she invites the family over for like a wake or something, or a party, and they're wondering if she knows that she's going to die soon. So I believe the story just takes place over the course of a few days, and we are following all of the women in this family, the different generations. So it does sound like something that'll appeal to me, so I want to get to it before release date. This next one doesn't come out until November, but it's out in the UK already, and I have an e-arc of it, so I figured I'll just read it. It sounds like something that I will want to read in the summertime, and it's been staring at me on my Kindle for a while now, and this is Gwen and Art Are Not in Love by Lex Crosier. They wrote Reputation, which I thought was a blast on audiobook. I had a good time with that, so I'm excited to see this from them, and this is YA. And I'm just gonna read you the little promo thing here, because as soon as I saw this, I knew I had to read it. It says, Heartstopper meets A Knight's Tale in this queer medieval rom-com YA debut about love, friendship, and being brave enough to change the course of history. I love A Knight's Tale. A Knight's Tale was my favorite movie. Heath Ledger was my celebrity crush. I had a poster of him in my room from A Knight's Tale. I cried when he died. I got a million calls when he died. So anything compared to A Knight's Tale, I want to read. And in this one, I think Gwen and Art are betrothed, but they hate each other. And he has a boyfriend and she is pining over another girl. So they decide that it's in their best interest to pretend to be together so that they can pursue their real love interests. So that sounds like a good time to me, and again, A Knight's Tale. And the last one is one that I have an ALC of, and I talked about this in my most anticipated July book releases. This is Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. I got this ALC a few months ago actually from Libro.fm. So a lot of people who are also part of the program have already listened to this and everybody is raving about it. And it's giving me wedding planner vibes, the movie with J-Lo and Matthew McConaughey. We're following a wedding planner who is in charge of a really high profile wedding, and the florist is somebody that she cannot stand and have a past, but the brides see that these two have chemistry and are kind of trying to get them together, not knowing their past. So it just sounds like a fun rom-com to me, and I'm in love with this cover. So I think that's 11 books. I think that is enough. I'm sure I won't stick to this, but I'm going to try my best because these are the books that are calling to me at this very moment. And I cannot wait to dive into them and share my thoughts on them with you. So if you've read any of these, let me know. What do you plan to read in July? Let me know if you plan to join us in either of those buddy reads. I'm really excited about both of them. So I will talk to you again soon. Thanks for your support. Bye for now.